Welcome back. It is now Thursday, and we are looking at a pretty busy night in the NHL because we didn't have a busy night last night. So it's typical Thursday. We had 10 games on the schedule. We've got Florida starting a Western Canada swing, to which I will be a witness on Monday when they come to Vancouver. Really looking forward to that game Monday night. And the nice thing is there's only 2 games that day. So when I was looking for Canucks tickets, I looked for 2 things. Cheapest and the nights that would give me the least amount of problems after the game getting reviews done, which means I'm not going to any Saturday games this year because they're the most expensive and they're a nightmare. So, all right, that being said, let's start things off with San Jose and against Montreal Canadiens. This game will start at 7 o'clock Eastern, as will a lot of games. Don't look for a ton of notes under the games tonight because I'm one man, and the notes will be sparse, as there will be a lot of different games for me to look at. So again, remote in my hand, switching channels quite a bit, and being on my phone a lot. San Jose's 3-5-1, Montreal's 4-3-2. These are 2 teams that will meet again for the second and final time this year, March 19th in San Jose. So they're not going to really build up any kind of hate over this season because they don't meet anywhere near. The meetings are nowhere near one another. Leading scorers for San Jose, Brent Burns, 2 goals, 6 assists. Erik Karlsson with a goal and 7 assists. So even though Karlsson, who we can look at and say, well, he's kind of been off to a slow start. He's not, things aren't great for him in San Jose compared to what we were used to in Ottawa. He's still got 8 points in 9 games. That's Erik Karlsson in a nutshell. Couture, 1 goal, 7 assists. And Evander Kane, 4 goals, 2 assists, rounds out the top 4 for them. On the Montreal side, Gallagher, 4 goals, 5 assists. Domi, 3 goals, 6 assists. Drouin, 3 goals, 5 assists. And Danault with 4 goals and 3 assists. When comparing these 2 teams, goals for per game, San Jose has a 2.67 average. Montreal, 3.67. So Montreal offensively has been better to this point of the season. Defensively, Montreal has the edge there as well. Goals against per game, San Jose's at 3.56. Montreal's at 3.22. The key thing for San Jose, get saves. It just sounds really, really simple, but that's basically what it is get some more saves. And for Montreal, if you guys can get an early lead on San Jose, this team is definitely fragile. We'll see how things go for Marleau tonight. We'll see how things go for Thornton as well as he looks for his first goal. And of course, for San Jose, if they don't win tonight, that'll be 3 wins in their first 10. And at that point, you can start talking about a cause for alarm. Moving along. Arizona. Arizona will be in against the Islanders. This one of the ones that starts at 7 o'clock Eastern as well. The Arizona Coyotes are 5-2-1, and they're looking really pretty darn good on this. I think it's 4-game winning streak now. And for the Islanders, they're looking pretty good during their winning streak as well. They're 5-3, so these 2 teams won't be getting any kind of feud started tonight either, as their other meeting of the season is February 17th in Arizona. So, a big game between 2 teams, one that, you hear a lot of rumors that they might move, and the other one, you used to hear a lot of rumors they might move, but now they've got a new building being built, so that's gone away. So, these 2 teams, similar in that manner. Schmaltz, 3 goals, 6 assists. He's been red hot lately. Keller, 7 assists. Soderberg, 2 goals, 4 assists. And Goligoski with a goal and 5 assists for Arizona. On the Islanders side of things, Barzal, 4 goals, 3 assists. Nelson, 4 goals, 3 assists. Bailey with 3 goals and 3 assists. And Beauvillier, 2 goals, 4 assists for the New York Islanders. Goals scored per game, the Arizona Coyotes are scoring 3 goals a game. And that's a winning formula. If they can average 3 goals a game, they've got an excellent chance of making the playoffs this year. On the Islanders side, 2.5 goals per game. Goals against per game, Arizona's at 1.88. That's pretty good. And the Islanders, 2.5. So these 2 teams both not allowing very many goals. We may see a very low-scoring, low-chance game tonight between these 2. Wouldn't really surprise me in the Islanders' case. A little bit with Arizona, though. They seem to be playing a little more up-tempo. And they just look more dangerous out there. And some of that is Phil Kessel, but some of it is that guys like Garland, Schmaltz, Keller, they're playing better this year than they did last year. Schmaltz's case, of course, it was a year shortened by injuries. But Keller is definitely better right now than he was last season. 7 assists in 8 games. He is on pace to obliterate last year's totals. And that's without getting a goal yet, and that's coming. Next up, Buffalo. The Buffalo Sabres in against the Rangers. So what we're going to see in New York tonight is one team that's doing really, really well, and the New York Rangers. Buffalo is the story of the season now. 8-1-1. There's no overshadowing of the Buffalo story really by anybody else at this stage. And the Rangers at 2-4-1, what happened? 2 games into the season, it looked like, all right, so this is all going to work. And now it looks like it's not. The next meeting between these two teams will be February 7th in New York as well. So the first 2 meetings will be in New York between these teams. The third meeting between them is in Buffalo. And again, it's so strange to see these teams in these positions, comparatively speaking, with one another. It's been a long time since Buffalo was good, and I don't say that to be sarcastic. It's true. It's been a long time since Buffalo was a dangerous team. Eichel, 6 goals, 8 assists. He is the leading scorer for Buffalo. Dahlin, 1 goal, 9 assists. Olofsson, 6 goals and 3 assists. Skinner, 6 goals and 2 assists, so he's crept in there. On the Rangers side, Zibanejad, 4 goals, 7 assists. Panarin, 4 goals, 2 assists. Trouba, 1 goal, 5 assists, and Buchnevich, 1 goal and 4 assists for the New York Rangers. And they definitely look off right now. And again, it's going to be, does Buffalo jump on them early? Do the Rangers wake up in the first period? And for people who are saying this might be a sign that it might be a coaching thing, I agree. If a team every game doesn't seem to be ready to start the game, that to me says something about coaching. But again, I'm not a general manager. I don't get to make those decisions. Goals for per game, Buffalo 3.7 and the Rangers 2.71. So major difference there. Goals against per game, major difference there as well. 2.4 for the Buffalo Sabres, 3.57 goals against per game for the New York Rangers. And that's with good goaltending. So that tells you that the Rangers defense that was supposed to be really better and everything's going to be great hasn't been the case yet. So we're still waiting on the improvements to show on the ice for the Rangers. And yes, you got some new guys. They may be taking time to coalesce. They might get a lot better later. But they've become the story for the wrong reason. And Buffalo, great story there. And they've got a lot of guys who are brand new to their lineup as well. Next up, Carolina in against Columbus. And this is a very fascinating game. So Carolina's 6-3, and you get the feeling like maybe they've peaked for October and they might be going into a bit of a lull. And for Columbus, this is the team that everybody seems to take lightly, and I get it. How do I put this? They've won 4 out of 9 games, and they've been in every single game. So where Columbus is dangerous is they're never really out of any one game. Now against Carolina, we'll see. The next game these teams are going to play is going to be January 16th. That one will be in Columbus as well. Your leading scorers, Dougie Hamilton, still the leading scorer for Carolina with 5 goals, 5 assists. Teravainen, 2 goals, 7 assists. Eric Howla, 7 goals, 1 assist. And Svechnikov, 1 goal, 7 assists. Sebastian Aho needs to be on this list. He needs to get it going, and he needs to get it going now. On the Columbus side of things, Dubois, 4 goals, 1 assist. Nyquist and Wenberg both have 2 goals and 3 assists. And then Jones and Foligno both have a goal and 4 assists. It is scoring by committee for Columbus, and it is just advantageous scoring at the right time, Columbus. Goals for per game. Carolina's at 3.22. Columbus is at 2.44. Goals against per game. Carolina sits at 2.78. Columbus, 3.22. So the goals against for Columbus, same per game as for Montreal, but they're scoring 1.2 less goals per game than Montreal, and yet, exact same record. So it's when they score, they're close games, and they're still, suffering from that lopsided loss they had against Pittsburgh, making them look a lot worse than what they are defensively as compared to where they're actually at. That was a 7-2 loss, so that's going to skew any numbers when you've only played 9 games. But other than that, they're 4-2-2, other than that one game. Which, of course, any fan of any team across this board, you could make somewhat the same argument. Well, if you didn't include that game for us, our record would be better as well. So, it should be an interesting one tonight, and we'll see if Columbus can continue to surprise people or if Carolina goes in and stomps that out in Carolina style. Should be a very interesting matchup tonight. That being said, I now have to change boards. Minnesota. The Minnesota Wild, who look like they are on the comeback. Or are they? Because if you look at their wins, people can look and go, well, yeah, that's nice, but look who they beat. And this is where the argument early in the season gets kind of weird. So you can look at the Oilers' record and say, oh, really good team that the Wild beat. Or people can pop their heads up and go, yeah, no, the Oilers are just having their annual meltdown. They're not really that good. Their record just makes them look better than they are. So don't read a whole lot into that. And so tonight we'll see where Minnesota's really at. They're in against Nashville. And Nashville's a team that can and does spank other teams. Their last game being a good example of that. So with Minnesota being 3-6, if they win tonight and they go to 4-6, that storyline of, hey, they might be on the comeback continues. On the Nashville side, they're 5-3-1. And again, they don't meet again until March 3rd after this meeting. So this is a big one for Minnesota. Their leading scorer is still Brad Hunt with 4 goals, 2 assists, which is problematic. No offense to Hunt, but he should not be the leading scorer for a team. Stahl, 2 goals, 3 assists. Picked it up in the last game, obviously. Suter, a goal and 4 assists. And Jordan Greenway with 5 assists is on the board as well. On the Nashville side, Ellis, 1 goal, 11 assists. Duchesne, 2 goals, 9 assists. Yossi, 4 goals, 5 assists. Arvidsson, 5 goals, 3 assists. And Forsberg, 5 goals, 3 assists. And the record for Nashville's been a little bit more spotty with Forsberg out of the lineup, and we'll see how things go tonight. Goals for per game, Minnesota's now at 2.33. It's not as anemic as it was. And for Nashville, 4.22. Best goal scoring in the league belongs to Nashville so far this season. Goals against per game, Minnesota's high at 3.56. Surprisingly, Nashville's high at 3.44. You would not expect Nashville to be having trouble on the defensive side of the puck, and yet, there they are. So, we'll see if Minnesota can break through tonight and show, hey, this is for real. It wasn't just a couple of games there, and now we're going to fall apart again. And on the Nashville side, at home, they need to show. Yeah, a sub-500 opponent comes in against us. We'll shut that down. Next up, LA, the Kings, who are really, really striving to be respectable this season. They're 4-5, and there in against the 4-2-3 St. Louis. The NHL released its Super 16, which is their power rankings, and I think they had St. Louis still at 5th or 6th or somewhere in that region. I was like, no, not so far this season. So their next meeting is December 23rd in LA. And this is a very interesting one because, again, while St. Louis has had some very impressive games, they have not been able to string them together. And this is one of those games that you can kind of look at and say, that could get away from them. I almost wore an LA jersey today because I was like, they've got a shot. Leading scorers for LA, Kopitar, 4 goals, 6 assists. The Kings will go as far as Kopitar can take them. Kovalchuk, 3 goals, 4 assists. Doughty and Brown both have 3 goals and 3 assists. And I say that about Kopitar while admitting, if Jonathan Quick continues the way he's played over the last couple of games, he could drag him a long way too. On the St. Louis side of things, Tarasenko, 3 goals, 7 assists. Braden Shen, 6 goals, 3 assists. Perron, 5 goals, 2 assists. O'Reilly and Jaden Schwartz both have a goal and 6 assists for the St. Louis Blues. Goals for per game. These teams are exactly the same. 3. Is that a surprise? It's a surprise to me. Goals against per game. LA's at 3.78. And St. Louis is at 3.22. St. Louis allowing more goals than they've scored. And LA allowing much more than they've scored. But both teams have won 4 games out of 9. And yet, nobody would look at LA's start and say, oh, well, they're off to a good start. And yet, St. Louis, by waiting till extra time to lose 3 times, that makes a difference. And once we get to playoff time and we start seeing teams make the playoffs that have more of those losses in that third column, that's where the arguing starts. Almost every year. So we'll see if St. Louis is one of those teams that manages to pack a lot of those points away, and that helps them come playoff time when it gets to seeding. Next up, Philadelphia, I should say. And I'm wearing it. That's the worst part. I'm wearing Flyers, and I just said St. Louis. Philadelphia in against Chicago, and this game starts at 8:30, as these two games start at 8 o'clock Eastern. So 8:30 Eastern, two more games start up because I won't have enough to follow. And this is the last meeting of the year between Philadelphia and Chicago. So they do not meet technically in Philadelphia this year at all. So if you're a Flyers fan and you're like, I can't wait till Chicago comes in here. Nope. That already happened in Europe. Prague already saw that matchup. So it was technically Philly was the home team. So now this matchup's in Chicago. Your scoring leaders for Philadelphia, Konechny off to an amazing start. 4 goals, 6 assists. Lindholm, 4 goals, 2 assists. Couturier and Provorov both have 2 goals and 3 assists for the Flyers. On the Chicago side, Patrick Kane, 3 goals and 5 assists. DeBrincat, Saad, and Nylander all have 2 goals and 2 assists thus far in the 7 games for Chicago. DeBrincat, the scoring's going to come. It'll happen. On the front, though, with Jonathan Taves is the interesting one in that he's still stuck at a goal and an assist, which is low. Really, really low. And again, it's really early in the year. But last year, he got off to a fantastic start. So the fact that he's off to a really pedestrian start this year is concerning to me. On the scoring side of things, Philadelphia, 3 goals per game. Chicago, 2.71. On the keeping goals out of your net side of things, Philadelphia's got a 2.86 goals against per game average, whereas Chicago's at 3.00. These teams are very close. So, as a for instance, if Chicago wins this one in overtime or a shootout, they will come out of tonight with the exact same record. Wouldn't necessarily 100% surprise me, but I feel like Philly's on a bit of an upswing, and I don't know that Chicago's going to find scoring tonight necessarily. That being said, this could be one of those games that turns out to be far more entertaining than it has any right being, because we may end up seeing a lot more goals than we might expect. So, see, now that I've said that, it'll be a 1-0 shootout. Both goalies get a shutout. Next up, Anaheim. The Ducks in against Dallas. Again, this one starts at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. For Anaheim, they're 6-4, and their quick start is fading. For Dallas at 3-7-1, tonight you can make some hay. And Corey Perry's first game against the Anaheim Ducks in his career. So, kind of a noteworthy game. If you're looking for an excuse to watch Anaheim and Dallas, there you go. For Dallas, they really need to keep this up. They need to continue to show that their scoring's getting better, and the numbers are slowly getting better. Their defense is getting better, and that, I don't know, just that clutch ability. It would be nice to see a power play goal. I know it's crazy to ask for, but it would be nice to see. And for Anaheim, they have to stem the tide here and come out and jump on Dallas early and show that early start, that they're able to maintain it. It is tricky because for Anaheim, some of their flaws are starting to show, and if Gibson doesn't stand on his net, or stand on his head in that net, Anaheim's not going much of anywhere this year. Silverberg's your leading scorer for Anaheim, 5 goals, 3 assists. Raquel, 3 goals, 4 assists. Henrique, 5 goals and 1 assist. And Lindholm has 6 assists to round things out for Anaheim. On the Dallas side, Rope Hintz, 6 goals and 1 assist. He is the offense for Dallas. Heiskanen, 3 goals, 3 assists. Sagan, 2 goals and 4 assists. Jamie Benn, 1 goal, 4 assists. So 5 points in 11 games for Ben. Janmark, 1 goal, 4 assists for him. Compare their paychecks. And you understand why for Janmark I go, cool. And for Ben, I'm like, come on. There needs to be more here. On the goal scoring side of things, these teams don't score. Anaheim, 2.4. Dallas, 2.09. On the goals against side of things, that's where it's quite different. Anaheim, 2.2. Dallas, 2.82. The interesting thing is Dallas is allowing less goals per game than almost every other team on this board. Way below Nashville, way below Minnesota, way below the LA Kings. And yet that 2.09 goals for per game puts so much pressure on your goaltending. And it just makes it so that every moment is way more tense than it would be if you had leads and you have goals. They have a lineup now that should be able to score. Pavelski now is up to 2 goals and an assist in 11 games. So they need some more scoring from these guys. They need the veterans to step up, and we'll see if that happens tonight. And now I got to change boards. Game number 9 on the schedule tonight starts at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. As you see, 6 o'clock Pacific is when these games end, so everything should be done at 8:30 tonight. The review should be up by 9:30 my time, which means if you're on the East Coast, stupid o'clock on a Thursday night. But Florida, 4-2-3. Calgary, 5-5-1. Calgary can't let this get away from them, right? Like, we came into this season and I said, I don't think Calgary's going to finish first in the West again. I think they probably aren't going to be able to follow that up with the same. But I said, they should be one of the better teams in the division. I took some heat for that from Flames fans. Like, oh, no, this team's going to get better. And so far this season, it hasn't happened. And the next meeting these two teams have is March 1st in Florida. So Florida's doing the West Coast swing. As I said, I'll watch them on Monday in Vancouver. But this is going to be a really interesting test for the Flames tonight. They really need to start picking up some victories here, because even though teams like Anaheim and Edmonton have started looking like they might fall back, Calgary doesn't look like they're going to take advantage of it. Vancouver does. Arizona does. And Vegas, they'll take that first spot no problem. So that would be your top 3 spots right there. And with certain teams in the Central looking like they're picking it up, Calgary doesn't want to get into an uncomfortable spot here. Leading scorers for Florida, Huberdeau, 4 goals, 6 assists. Barkov, 8 assists. Hoffman, 5 goals, 3 assists. Dadonov and Connolly with 4 goals, 3 assists. I'm going to mention quickly here, I saw yesterday that Alexander Barkov was voted the most underrated player in the NHL by the NHL players that were asked. And when I saw that article, I was like, we covered that last year. Are they just reprinting the article from last year? No. Apparently NHLers still think Barkov's the most underrated forward. By who? So that's why I didn't mention it in yesterday's video, because I'm like, we already talked about this. How is Barkov still an underrated forward? He's Selke nominated. Everybody knows how good he is. I always talk about how good he is. I don't think he's that underrated, unless he's the best player in the NHL and he's in McDavid territory. We're not talking about it. That's the only way I can see it. Anyways, on the Calgary side, Gaudreau, 3 goals, 6 assists. Tkachuk, 2 goals, 6 assists. Lindholm, 6 goals, 1 assist. And Giordano, 2 goals and 5 assists to round out the scoring for the Calgary Flames. Goals for per game. Florida doesn't have a problem scoring goals, 3.22. Calgary does, 2.55. How does that happen? And again, I'm asking this just out of curiosity. I'm not sure what's gone on in Calgary that's caused this huge drop. And it's not trading James Neal. James Neal wasn't scoring these goals early last year. Goals against per game, Florida, 3.44. Goals against per game for Calgary is a respectable 2.91. Their goaltending's been solid. It's just they're not scoring enough goals, which is unusual compared to last season. So again, we'll see if Florida can continue to cut down their goals against. That 3.44 is too high. And that's where Bobrovsky steps in and proves he's worth every single dollar, and he's going to have that pressure on him every single night. And Barkov will go out there, score some points. At some point, he'll win all kinds of trophies, and players are still going to say, he's really underrated, though. It's weird. All right, that being said, moving along. Last game of the night is Washington in against the Oilers. This one again starts 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. Pick your game and stick with it. That's what I used to do back before I had a channel. I would just pick one game and watch that one for the most part. And now it's crazy time. Anyways, 7-2-2 is the record for the Capitals, who have picked themselves up after blowing some early leads. And again, if it wasn't for those early leads that they lost, this would be the number 1 team in the NHL, and we might be already talking about President's Trophies theirs then. On the Edmonton side, they're 7-2-1. So the records are almost identical, but the stories are completely different. Edmonton's gone 2.5 games now without a goal, and Washington is really picking it up. These teams don't meet again until March 16th in Washington. Karlsson's your leading scorer in the National Hockey League with 5 goals, 15 assists for the Caps. Ovechkin, 7 goals, 5 assists. Oshie, 7 goals, 3 assists. Nick Backstrom, 2 goals and 7 assists for the Washington Capitals. On the Oilers side, McDavid, 5 goals, 12 assists. Draisaitl, 6 goals, 10 assists. James Neal, 9 goals and 1 assist. And Oscar Klefbom, 1 goal, 8 assists is on the board for the Oilers. And his amazing start to the season is a big part of the reason why they're 7-2-1. On the goals for side of things, Washington's got the edge there because, of course, they do. They have Ovechkin at 3.73, the Oilers 3.00. Goals against per game, the Capitals 3.09, Edmonton 2.3. As long as Edmonton keeps their goals against down, they should be a playoff team. And again, they don't have to have a fantastic run from here to necessarily make the playoffs. They just have to be decent. So for people who are saying, well, they're not going to do that, okay. But I still think there's enough time left in the season that they can have a decent record and they can at least be in the running, if not get a wild card spot. The West looks pretty wide open right now. We'll have that discussion again, I'm thinking, in about a month and a half's time. But for Edmonton, they need this one. While I'm saying, we can't overblow this, they haven't scored in 2.5 games. They need a goal early, so that's not a conversation. And they need some production from their big guys to start with. So we'll see if they get that tonight. Let me know what you guys think, your winners, all that other wonderful stuff in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video on your way around the internet. Whatever you might have been looking for, you stumbled upon this. Welcome. Thanks for arriving here, and enjoy your stay. I will talk to you again soon. Thank you guys so much for all your support.